This week, we sadly saw the end of Big Brother, the reboot series on ITV, which obviously we've discussed extensively on page 180. Of course, I had Kento on last week to preview the final, and just some final thoughts, obviously, on the last week, because I thought it was excellent. And I'm so happy as a longtime Big Brother fan who kind of fell out of it as it got a bit tenuous in the later years when Davina left and moved to Channel 5. I just was out at that stage. But COVID and watching old clips through TikTok and the likes got me very much in the mood. So I was well up for this, and I'm happy to say that as we're kind of on the other side of it now, it's been a huge success. I'm looking forward to Celebrity Big Brother, and I'm looking forward to everything. Even even last week, I was kind of questioning the hosts, Will and AJ, and I feel that in the last week or couple of weeks, they clicked and everything just seemed to be working. So an exciting time ahead for Big Brother fans. I just want to touch on some of the things on my own reflections on the last week. Of course, it started with the shocking eviction of Trish and the somewhat less shocking eviction of Chanel. I think everyone kind of expected that. And just first off, the positive vibes that kind of came from that. I really liked the Sunday night episode where everyone was just friends, and you had the girls, Three Gays and Tom. I thought it was really nice. And it was also a vindication of, while we were still in shock about Trish, and obviously there was stuff on Sunday, we touched on it in last week's show, that was breaking around Trish, that obviously saw her have to miss the final and couldn't do the reunion with the rest of the housemates. But I thought it was a vindication of it was for the best that they went, and it kind of sucked me back in. And at a time where I was kind of questioning, the integrity of the voting system and stuff like that as well, because the stuff about Trish hadn't broken when she'd gotten evicted. I kind of wondered if there was a bit of the eviction was a bit. The only word I can think of is Brexity, to kind of put it in a diplomatic sense. But again, like I felt after that episode, it really reset the house kind of well, and Big Brother did well to kind of adjust on the hop and put them all back into a positive state, which of course, and they observed this even in their song where there was like, we're happy and then we suffer. You knew that was all going to come crumbling down, and it did, with obviously the surprise fake eviction on Monday. And then you had Jordan, Tom and Jenkin going into the spare room. I found it really interesting, that whole dynamic. I felt that it was kind of the pressure that they put Maddie and Yinrun over to make the final decision over who was to go in, which obviously ended up being Tom. And the pressure that Maddie kind of took the lead on it, but steered it as like he made the decision himself, but he steered it to make it look like it was based off Yinrun's decision. So making her the bad guy when he was under pressure. I felt that kind of told a lot about Maddie when it kind of came down to it. And again, I was pretty happy with what ended up happening as a result. But I enjoyed the spare room. Actually, what I found is, I'm not going to say that it changed my mind, particularly on Tom. I thought he was an awful housemate. And again, just offered nothing to the proceedings except bitchiness and anger and a lot of like negativity. But I did enjoy the spare room element and the meta kind of goggle box element of them watching Big Brother. And it really gave me a new perspective on everyone as we're heading into the final week. It kind of changed how I felt about a lot of the people, and they accurately pointed out how fake and how convoluted it all looked, and how everyone just kind of pretended to be friends and put on these kind of shows for the cameras and stuff like that as well. It changed my opinion, like particularly on Maddie, who I was always really on the fence on. I kind of saw the fakeness in a lot of his actions through their eyes. And it also like gave me a much more favorable view of Jenkin, who was someone that I'd kind of gone back and forth with. I have a good friend, Sinead, who is also a big Big Brother watcher. We'd also always share our kind of thoughts nightly on how everything was going. And whenever we catch up, we call them omnibuses. Like you'd have your, end of week Coronation Street and EastEnders omnibus. And I'd always insisted to her, I'm like, Jenkin, I feel would be really good to addition to our omnibuses to kind of just bitch about things and talk about how annoying everything is. And he really vindicated himself there. I want to hang out with Jenkin after that. Of course, that became an increased possibility because shortly after he was gone, Jordan came back into the house. And then, of course, we had what was arguably, for me, one of the best reality TV moments in history, where, again, the housemates had this nice day, and as a reward for it, they get to kind of read letters from home. It was a really well edited show as well, because the day started with Maddie, down in the dumps, and then he got to have a prize by like dancing to Florence and the Machine with a bunch of ribbons. That just looked awkward. Again, whatever he's into, I'm not like, judging if that's his. I don't want to yuck his yum or anything, but that would not be for me. I'd just be like, I'm trying to dance here, like, get out of my way, ribbons. It's just, but like, again, that's his deal. Give me, playing with Henry's dog any day. That was clearly the best prize. But then you had, of course, the final reveal where Maddie's card was last. He chose Yinrun to read it, so they had their bonding moment after, of course, she chose him to read her card from home. And then, like, they played it so well. They suckered us in to this moment. And everyone, like, kind of, because they set up the format so well, of you didn't know who was reading the card until they kind of said some indication throughout the course of it that it was, oh, it's a parent or it's a best friend or this, because they made a reference to something that they do. And the housemates had that light bulb moment. And with Maddie, obviously, they never gave you that. The entire time you're like hearing these positive thoughts of them, but you never know who it is. And of course, it ends with Yinrun having to read out and then not kind of realizing what she's reading out until after she's read it, that he's the next person to be evicted. It was savage. It was absolutely brutal. He's going out the back door. He's not getting his big audience reunion. He's out of the final at the last hurdle. It was phenomenal. Then we get to the finale Friday, which was a show I really enjoyed, though I do want to pick one nit with one aspect of Big Brother which really annoyed me. I felt didn't work. I don't see the benefit of it, and I hope they change it for the next one, because I think this is something that they got away with this time. I don't feel there was anything too tragic based off this, but I feel like it's a system that is primed for a controversy in the future. The voting through the app and giving everyone 5 votes to kind of work with. And in the final, what they did was they'd obviously lock down the vote each time they went to evict someone. And then, of course, they do the interview, they'd reopen the votes. And then again, they gave people 5 more votes to play with, which is such a flawed system. I get voting through the app. You want people to own your app. It's better than a premium phone line and stuff like that. I'd love if Ireland got access to it, because obviously it's airing over here and we have our own thoughts. But I don't get the 5 votes thing. I don't see what benefit it is, unless they just want to maximize the amount of votes they can get so they can say, we had 10 million votes to make it seem like a big deal. But like, you're not fooling advertisers there. You're not fooling anyone beyond just the audience. We don't think the 10 million people voted because you constantly tell us you've got 5 votes to use. And like, effectively, it ended up playing into the final result, fortunately not impacting it too much. But like, for Olivier, for example, to finish second, essentially what they were doing was they were giving Scotland, and I imagine all of Scotland were voting for her and just using their 5 votes on her. But every time they reopened it and gave everyone 5 new votes, they're just allowing Scotland to reload and just pump more votes into Olivier. I feel like it's kind of messy, and I feel like it could have actually just, because again, I'm not one of these sticklers for the rules. Look, it's bullshit reality TV. They can make up the rules as they go along. You see a lot of people being like, well, that's not the way Big Brother's supposed to work on Twitter. I don't want to be one of those guys. But at the same time, like, if you watch and invest in a series and then you just feel like the voting system is totally flawed, yeah, then it's not great. In terms of the top five, though, I am happy with how it happened. The order as well, I'm okay with. It is interesting. It's different. Noki going fifth, I feel, is fair. It's vindication for her. I felt like she was a nice person. She was well spoken. She was very misunderstood. People were very quick to cast aspersions on her. Myself, probably a little bit too. When she first walked into the house as kind of a Miss Universe candidate, and I kind of saw what a lot of people said in her, where she felt like stage managed and so on. But I felt like when they boiled her down to her core, she was just herself, and she was just a nice person. And who cares if she's stage managed? She's on TV. That's the platform to be stage managed on. And again, it was vindication for her to get to the final, but also when you kind of looked at her highlights, she didn't do much. She was involved in certain things and she was there for certain things, but she didn't actually do much. So I think anything higher than fifth would have been probably overreaching a little bit. Yin running fourth was a great twist, because I feel like a lot of people, and again, the crowd, it was similar to the Trish moment last week. The crowd are calling for her to win. So I feel a lot of people kind of felt that that was it, wrapped up. And her going forward was a nice twist. And again, I just feel like she lost a bit of momentum towards the end. But I thought great housemate. And I love Yen Run, and I've got no beef with her. I did kind of question her when I was watching her through the lens of the spare room, if there was a bit of fakeness or stuff going on there. But she won me back, and she's just a lovely person. So I can't begrudge her any success she has. Henry III, I love it, because he was one of my sneaky favorites when I did my early power rankings just after they got into the house. Henry was someone that I'm like, I really like this guy. I think he's quite entertaining. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. So getting all the way up to third, I thought he had a really good housemate story and an arc. I don't think he helped himself in the final week, going on a lot of, I am posh and I am privileged and I've had a lot of things that a lot of people don't. And they're not kind of going, and you know what? Maybe that's not fair. He's going, yeah, deal with it. So I didn't feel like they were the best things to be kind of saying in the diary room on the week. You got to think this through, man. 100 grand on the line. Olivia in second, I'm happy for her. I thought she brought, I know she divided opinion, and she divided opinion with me depending on, the day that was in it. But she brought a lot of main character energy to the house. She always brought something interesting. She was really well spoken as well. That's one thing I really admired about her. You know what I mean? It's very hard. It's very easy to write off Olivia as just kind of loud and kind of hyper and just kind of an annoying kid. And I don't feel that's a fair portrayal of her at all. I think she's got a lot to say, and when she was in an emotional state, she's quite good at verbalizing it in a very healthy and positive way. Which she has layers to her. And I felt she was a great housemate. So delighted to see her in second. But Jordan in first, I feel, was the right result. He was the most entertaining housemate. He had the best stories in there. He was himself permanently, but there was also a nice arc to him in that he came in very cynical to the process, just refusing to get involved in a lot of the things that Big Brother was asking of him, which again is just fun to see in general. But also at the same time, like, he kind of softened towards the process and the housemates. He started to smile more. He started to loosen up more. He started to see and identify some of the toxicity in his behavior. For example, ignoring people when he's not happy with them, and kind of having to live with them makes him aware of the impact that has on others as well, which is really interesting to see. The stuff with Henry as well was obviously great. That was a brilliant Big Brother storyline. A lot of people are going, yeah, but is it real? Is it real? I don't care. It's a TV show. It was real on the TV show. So who cares what they do outside? Now that's their personal life. So let's just leave them to it. We don't own these people. Very happy to see Jordan win. I haven't actually got to see his interview because I was out on Friday night. So I didn't get to watch it live, and I'm watching via Virgin Media's reruns and stuff, and again, Virgin Media just didn't have Leighton live, which was an absolute disgrace. And if I was watching live, I could have watched it on ITV, but I can't on the Sky Glass system that I have. So I haven't even got to see it, which is a really unsatisfying end for my Big Brother experience. But I love the experience as a whole. One other thing that I kind of loved about it was tweeting through it every night in social media, which is what I would have used to do, and I loved it back in the day. And actually, I found, and this is no credit towards Elon Musk, don't worry, but I found Twitter to be a nice place to hang out again, and it kind of reminded me of the old days. And with the toy show coming up next week as well, that's something I like to do. If Twitter is actually a fun place to be around, it has a lot of benefits, and there's a reason that we all kind of liked it to begin with. So I enjoyed that aspect to it. All in all, Big Brother, huge success. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed chatting about it, and I'm definitely going to be doing so for Celebrity Big Brother as well. So well done, ITV. Hats off. You gave us a good reality TV series. You managed to pretty much almost avoid drama and controversy as well, which is not like you, ITV. So well done. I'll enjoy that while it lasts, because I'm sure you're going to fuck it up somehow, because that's your culture. But yeah, a rousing success and really enjoyable. That's Big Brother. And thank you for listening to my inane ramblings, or following me on Twitter and kind of hearing them in real time there as well.